You've often seen leather jewelry made for men. It has a great masculine feel, but have you considered that with the right choices, it can be quite feminine too? Today I have for you a beautiful girly bracelet made out of leather. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. So the folks at Endless Leather asked me if I would like to make some more jewelry using some of their wonderful supplies. And I thought I would make something a little bit more feminine. I fell in love with their metallic braided leather. This is 6mm round braided leather cord in the color metallic violet. And I thought it was just gorgeous, and I really thought it would look lovely with some of their rose gold findings. I've mentioned before I've done other videos with their supplies, and I love that not only do they have a really interesting array of leathers, but they've got some fantastic findings to go with them. You can see I have here maybe a surprising selection of findings. I have this magnetic clasp, which will be much easier to manage once it's on some leather, but for now I'll just show you. It's a very strong clasp. Oof. So it's magnetic, but it's got that little bar that helps it be secure. So I think I would trust a bracelet to this. I mean, that is a strong clasp. There we go. And yeah, hello. And then I also have 4 end caps because I have in mind to do something a little bit different here. What I want to do is have 2 wraps of leather, and that's why I have this big oval shaped clasp so that 2 strands of the leather will fit in there. And I tell you, the folks at Endless Leather were really helpful in getting this design together. I had an idea and I picked out some products, and then I emailed them and asked, will this work? And my first ideas wouldn't work quite, so they made other suggestions, and then we managed to get this, because these are shipping to me all the way from Germany to the United States, so we wanted to make sure these were going to work. So 2 strands of leather in each of these, and then I have 4 end caps. And then in the middle of those, I wanted to put some beads. And I was amazed. I bought these beads just on a whim recently from artbeads.com, and wow, they match perfectly. Almost too perfectly. I kind of would have preferred them to be a little different. I also pulled in a few other things, thinking about what I could put in the middle. You can't get too excited. Well, yeah, you can get too excited with a bracelet design. I guess you can't get too over ambitious about what you're going to do because there's only so much room. I wanted to have room for the leather, room for the beads, and 2 strands of leather. So if you're thinking about 6 or 7 inches, if I've got 2 inches on each side of leather, that only leaves 2 or 3 inches in the middle for beads. So you can see I'm filling that up pretty quickly with these. These are just in my stash. I think things from the craft store, just kind of coppery beads that I thought brought out the rose gold, because if you didn't know, rose gold is copper and gold mixed together. Actually, I did a video on that. I'll have a link to it up here for you, explaining just what rose gold is, because it's very popular these days. I also have some Czech fire polish beads, 4mm copper rose luster, just the combination I was going for. Copper and pink. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your findings will fit and dry fit them. Now this one took a bit of doing to get on here. I'm not going to glue anything in until I have my bracelet completely designed, because then I can trim my pieces down. You can see this could be a little ornery, especially the braided leather. I got all these pieces fanning around. So what you can do is just grab a pair of pliers and really give it a bit of a squeeze and a squish, and really try to compress that in so that you can get the whole thing, all those corners and edges. Well, that went in a whole lot easier than my first try. Wow. But you can get all that in there so you know it's going to fit. before you go putting glue in there and then end up just having an absolute mess. So like I said, I'm going to have 4 strands of leather in this bracelet, 2 on each side of some beads. So I want to cut these a little large. I'm going to cut them about 3 inches long. That's way more than I'm going to need. And I don't like to be wasteful, but in my thinking, it would be more of a waste to get down to the end of the bracelet and have cut them too short and not have enough to do what I want to do. I've got my 4 end caps dry fit on, and you can see I took 2 of these and fit them into 1/2 of the clasp. I took the clasp apart. These aren't quite even yet, but we'll deal with that later. Right now, you just want to get them in there so you can kind of look at them and have a visual of what you're seeing, so that when you design it, you know what you're looking at, proportions and such. So it's really helpful to definitely do that squishing with the pliers. I'm going to trim these so they're closer in size. This is why I really feel it's good to cut them way oversized. You may need to trim them a few times. So just taking the pliers and just softening that up will make it so much easier to fit it into your finding. Now at this point, you actually could glue one end in if you wanted to do that before you start designing. I would suggest gluing these 2 ends in to the clasp. Now the cord, when it is shipped, of course it's coiled, and so it's got a direction it wants to coil, so I'm going to position that so that's going around the bracelet like it naturally will, rather than fighting it. And the only way you're going to get these in there even is if you put them in at the same time. Oh, now funny. Both things that I did on camera went easily, and the ones that I didn't, I was fighting with. That is so totally opposite of what usually happens. Usually I do it real easy upstairs at my table, and then I come down here to record, and it fights me. But anyway, so that's the beginnings. Of course, this is practically a whole bracelet in itself. So you could just do a little something in the middle, but I'm going to do a little bit more, and that's something to keep in mind when you glue your ends on, that you want them facing the right way. Again, we'll deal with that in a bit. So we'll just lay these out for design purposes. I have some rose gold plated jump rings, which will be wonderful. The only thing I don't have that's rose gold is wire. So I'm going to use this antique brass color. It's kind of in the antique metals family. I think it will be fine. Oh, magnet, right, sticking to my scissors. And I'm going to cut apart these 12mm flowers and just start playing. And you could do more than 2 rows. Just because there's 2 findings doesn't mean you only have to have 2 rows of flowers or beads. You could have more. So it might be pretty. I keep wanting to throw that bead in, but I don't know, maybe not. Let's see, what about these? Maybe something a little asymmetrical. I only have 2 of those. Or maybe 1 strand with that. I like those, but I'm thinking they're just a little too matchy-matchy, like I said before. What about some of these? Check fire polish. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. I think that breaks it up just enough. So it might be interesting to have them kind of offset. Let me know what you think. What would you put in here? What kind of beads would you use? How would you go about designing it? See, I just want to make that balanced. That bugs me. What about that? Maybe an extra 1. Or even just 3 and 2. My symmetrical brain wants to make this 3, but I have 2 here. But I don't know that I would be happy having 2 on one and 1 on the other. I think that would annoy me nearly as much. So I think I'm going to have to reconcile myself to... Now I'm back to these. No. I think just the flowers, and I think maybe 3 on one and 2 on the other. So let's get out some wire and see what that looks like when they're strung onto the wire. I'm just going to cut maybe a 6-inch piece. And before I make any loops, I'll just string my things on. Yeah, that color works. And that's good if some of the wire shows. That looks good. That goes well. So many of you have told me that you have found my videos inspiring and helpful and gotten great ideas for your own creativity, and that just thrills me to pieces, because that is what I set out to do, is to encourage and inspire. I love doing this. I love making these tutorials for you and having a reason to put into reality all of the many ideas I have. So many of you have told me that you love watching my videos, that I actually make bonus tutorials for my patrons so they can have even more to watch. If you're interested, you can check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/SandySewen. So although these videos are free for you to watch, they are not free for me to make. They cost quite a bit in time and materials and overhead and all that, but I love doing it. And that's where patronage comes in that it makes it possible for me financially to continue doing this and to buy new supplies and try new products. And I just love doing it. And I love that I can give back to my patrons a little bit of extra with the bonus tutorials. It's kind of a win-win all around. So if you're able to, check it out. And if you're not, that's okay. I love having you here on my channel anyways. I think I really like that. I'm just going to make wrapped loops on each end. If you want to know more about making wrapped loops, I did a whole video on that. It was a Friday Findings video giving you all the step-by-step details. But basically, and I'll have a link to that up here. But basically, you just make a loop with your round nose pliers, leaving a bit of a wire end, and wrap that end around that little stem of wire. You always want to trim the end and then tuck that little end right there in, because that will scratch your skin where this is a bracelet. We don't want that. And see how that's kind of tilted over to the side. I'm just going to grab that with my round nose pliers and bend it up so it's more like a lollipop sticking up. And the other side's a little bit trickier to get spacing right, because you have a certain spot that it needs to be made. And the way you do that, see how much space those wraps are taking up? About this much. And so I use my tool to measure that here. I'm going to bend that right there. Tuck in my round nose pliers right at that bend. And if you want to be absolutely certain your loops are the same size, I'm just eyeballing it, but you can make a little Sharpie mark on your pliers. Wrap it around. You'll only get about that far till you have to reposition the pliers. Bend it till the wires are at a 90-degree angle to each other with a loop in between. And now you're doing exactly what you did before. Grab that. I like holding it with flat nose pliers and it doesn't slip. And I love it if I'm not using a really expensive piece of wire, to make sure I have plenty of extra, because boy, it's so much easier to be able to grab it and just wrap like this and not have to have a little tiny piece, but the long piece here gives you some leverage. Sorry if I went off camera on you there. Again, if you need details on making wrap loops, go ahead and check out that Friday Findings video. I go into a lot of detail about hand position and just exactly how you're holding everything. I think you'll find that helpful. Those should be pretty close to the same size. I love the way the flowers nestle in, and it's just slightly asymmetrical. So I'm going to go ahead and make wrap loops on these two. And then we're nearly done. All right, like I said, nearly done. I have my little strands of beads ready. My braided leather is dry fitted into the findings. And so now you can have a pretty good idea of the length of your bracelet. And obviously this is way too long. It's 8 inches, so I know I'll have to cut it down some. I've got some little jump rings here. Like I said, these are the rose gold plated. So if you're interested in any of these supplies, make sure that you check out my blog post. For every video tutorial that I make, I always write a blog post to accompany it. And at that blog post, there will be links to products. There's also, often usually more information because I write the blog post the day after I've made the project and edited the video. And so I usually think of other things at that point. Oh, for crying out loud. Magnets. They're wonderful. And they're making me crazy. There we go. Oh gosh, these are some stiff jump rings. Well, that's good to know. It's not going to come apart on me. Oh, that's pretty. So you just connect all of your pieces to these. What I would recommend is you glue your ends into the bigger piece of the finding first. And what I recommend for that is a 2-part epoxy. Do yourself a favor and get a longer drying than the 5-minute epoxy. We can get that at the craft store, the 5-minute Gorilla Glue. This is 90 minutes, and then I think it's 12 hours to be fully cured. But do yourself a favor, be a little bit patient, because this stuff will sometimes ooze out of the findings, and then it will get on the outside. So if you've given yourself more than 5 minutes to get everything fit in just the way you want it, you'll still have time afterwards to take a wet wipe and wipe off any excess that might have gotten on the outside of the leather or the finding. I just squeezed out like a pea-size amount of each of these. Just make it about equal. It doesn't seem to be one of those things that you have to weigh. I suppose that's maybe the best way, especially if you're using a large amount. But for little bits, I've never had it not work. And you can see this one actually gets a different color, so you definitely want to be careful to clean it up when you're done. Where you have 90 minutes with this one before it cures, I usually just watch the clock and stir it for a good 2 minutes. I want to be sure that it's thoroughly done, because if I'm going to wait 12 hours, I don't want to find out that it didn't kick off properly and I got to wait another 12 hours. That's how annoying is that? So here's 1/2 of my clasp. And I'm going to put a good amount in there. I'm going to try to get most of it on the bottom, not too much on the sides, because that will just ooze out. That's probably going to ooze out a little anyways. So I've got that filled, just the bottom. You don't want to use too much, but you don't want to use too little either. So move that out of the way so I don't stick my hand in it, which I've been known to do. Just kind of squashing these a bit. It really is very helpful to work them a bit with a pair of pliers to soften them up. And that went in beautifully. Wow. Okay, and I've got a wet wipe here. I'm just going to be really careful and take my time and go around and wipe off as much of that ooze as I can find, because I don't want any of it showing once it's dry. I've got a little awl here. Uh-oh, just felt that come out. See, this is another reason why you really want to give yourself the 90 minutes or an hour or something, not 5 minutes. It's just not enough. All right. So one more time. Ugh. Oh, now I'm making a mess. Huh? I'm gonna have this everywhere. Okay. Get in there. Go on. I think I need 3 hands. I need another hand to poke. Okay, there. Alright, I'll be a little bit more careful with my wiping this time. I just want to be really thorough. I hate it when you do something and you think you got it all and then it dries and you look and you go, I missed that. Honestly, I've got a magnifying lamp upstairs. I'm probably going to bring it up there and give it a good inspection before I set it aside someplace where it won't be disturbed for at least 12 hours. And then I will repeat on the other one. If you keep this around somewhere, just chuck it again out of the way where no cat's gonna step in it or something. But you'll be able to tell that your glue did indeed cure properly and kicked off properly, and that it is cured and done. So that's just a little helpful thing to just keep around until it's all done. Here it is the next day. These are all glued quite well in there. And you can see that now that you have something to grab onto, the mechanism is a lot easier to manage, but still quite strong. So it's at this point that you can get an idea of just where you need to cut your leather off. I'd say I'm going to have to cut off quite a bit in order to accommodate these. So let me just trim them even. I'll trim down about 1/2 inch, maybe a little more. I don't want to trim too much, because you can always trim more, but you can't put it back. And if I look at that, it looks like maybe another, at least another inch off of the 2 total. So I'll cut this one maybe a little over 1/2 inch. Compare the 2, they're pretty even. And so you just kind of keep doing that. One thing you might want to do is, once you're very close, you know you're pretty close to where you want to be, is actually glue in both end caps on one side. Let that dry and then do your final fit on the other side. So yeah, you got to do the gluing in 3 stages. Let's see where we're at now. Well, that's pretty close. Still maybe more than 1/2 inch will need to come off. So let's see how these compare. They're pretty close. So I think I'm going to trim 1/4 inch off of each. A scant 1/4 inch. Because they don't have to be exactly even. Nobody's going to look at them and go like this, but you don't want one this long and one this long, of course. So one more time. And if you're not fitting this for yourself, they do make tools. It's a little cone that you can drop the bracelet over and it will show you what size it is. So if you're making it for a gift for someone or to sell, you can make it for a specific size. All right. And also I might want to bend this wire just at a slight curve, because it's going to do that as you wear it. I'd say that is pretty close. So that's my suggestion for how to get a good fit. Glue in 2 sides now that you have it very close. Let those dry, I know, again, another 12 hours. And then you can make your final fit just perfect. And then you'll have a really beautiful and very unique bracelet made of leather and beads and rose gold and all kinds of beautiful things. So I hope you enjoyed the project. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I upload Tuesdays and Fridays. And check out my Patreon page if you'd like to get bonus tutorials for yourself. Happy creating. Bye-bye.